My name's Jane, the host of Political Gravity. We will be having callers calling in shortly. While I'm waiting for the callers, I am going to play a video that describes Canadian devotion to the Ukraine. They've created a $20 billion package and pragmatic planning at the G7 to make long-term goals and effectively help the Ukraine sustain themselves. Please tune into this video while I wait for my co-host to arrive.
The whole world is standing up for peace in the war between Ukraine and Russia. The disagreement between the United States and the European Union has changed the approach of other countries to the peace process. After the United States announced that it would cut its military support to Ukraine, the EU took action in London. Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky, who had a tense meeting with President Donald Trump, was reassured by a summit hosted by UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer. At this summit, the UK announced that it would send $2 billion for Ukraine to buy 5,000 air defense missiles. Keir Starmer also announced a $2.8 billion loan to Ukraine, backed by frozen Russian assets. In addition to the aid announced at this summit, the EU wing announced plans to use an incredible $800 billion budget to rearm Europe and provide military support to Ukraine. There have also been incredible steps of support for Ukraine from the Scandinavian region. Norway has announced that it will launch one of the largest aid funds in history for Ukraine. The Oslo government announced that
there are only 9 cards left to click. If I collect 4 in a row, I can get extra rewards.
I have a huge wealth fund budget of 1.
Hello.
I was playing a video and I was indisposed for a second.
Okay.
So the show can start now. The video I'm going to give a brief introduction and I'll tell you what the topic is, okay? Are you doing okay?
Yeah, doing all right.
Okay, so in light of Trump's rejection of temporary rejection, maybe temporary, maybe permanent, the G7 European Union met and they created a more long-term programming and funding for the Ukraine over the next year. And I am going to tell you what Canada pledged. We have multi-topics tonight, but I'm just going to start out with these few before Don calls in.
Okay.
Canada has devoted $20 billion towards the Ukrainian war efforts. They have already participated in this area and they're going to continue. They've provided armored tanks, drone cameras and drone technology, thermal suits, economic development, shelter, food and sanitation, stabilization of communities, and security. This totals, there's also some specialized tank that I missed the name of it. The military aid itself is $4.5 billion, and the overall package is $20 billion. In other news, Bree McNulty was a CDC worker, Center for Disease Control. She got a highly coveted job in Iowa City. The government told her she was terminated. She applied at Penn State and got a job in Penn State, put a deposit on a new apartment, and then she got an email Friday that she was reinstated for the CDC. She doesn't know what she's planning to do yet. In other news, there was another federal worker that I heard about Friday who got their job back through the courts, and they're going to stay. And Hampton Dellinger the Office of Special Counsel appealed his job cut by Trump. He was reinstated by the courts, but then 2 days later, the appellate court told him that Trump was legally able to remove him from his post. However, in the contract, it stated that the Office of Special Counsel, the head of it, can only be removed due to inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance. So that's what I have in the news. We can lightly discuss things generally until Don calls in. What's on your mind this week? Hi, I didn't hang up on you. Something happened.
Got dropped. Oh, well, then it went off.
Just so you know, Don thinks that we're being trolled.
Yeah. Everything in the news. There's lots of news lately.
Did you hear what I said? Yeah,
I did, and about the topic about the woman that was fired and then rehired. So and there are a lot of people, I guess, situations going on like that. But I think that, since nobody's perfect, and since we haven't had like major audits throughout the agencies that are that we have in government right now, that's going to happen. If to get to the bottom line of everything, because they're trying new things, they're working with new algorithms, and they're trying to weed out the waste. And in the meantime, there may be accidents, I guess, if you want to call it that, with people being fired and then rehired again. But at least they're being rehired, and they're not just saying, oh, well, and then hire somebody else to take their position after they realize they made a mistake. So I try and look on the positive side of things. It kind of sucks for some people like that it's happening to. But if they are found to be valuable employees and get rehired again, then that's a good thing if they got to keep their job. But in the meantime,
I do have a question for you. I heard about some people in a remote national park in Utah. 15 of them got canned and then they got their job back. And one was a biologist studying the effects of something on something. But when people like that are displaced and they're living like in a city of 5,000, it means they're going to have to relocate. They're going to have to find another job. They'll probably have to go on unemployment. But as you being a conservative, I don't know how much your loyalty is to Trump like John, but don't you think they should have just picked someone who had a strong background in government to methodically go through each department before they made slash and burn layoffs? Couldn't they have just chosen 5 out of 1,000 jobs to begin with, and then week by week progress?
Well, I don't think I understand the question, but let me answer, and then you can respond if I'm not understanding. So, as far as the Doge group that goes through all this, they're taking the data and analysis, and in that data analysis, they're considering, or the considerations are the value of the employee. Is it up to what they're being paid? Do we even need this position in the government? And if they are eliminated, whether it's the agency or person, how would that benefit the government as far as their budget goes, their bottom line? So what I'm understanding is what they're doing is out of those algorithms, it's pulling data together that fits the criteria that they're filtering out, which is, under or over this amount of money, this salary, and in what department, and it shows it, and then they cut those people or keep them. And I heard recently that people were getting emails that had to justify what they had done the previous week as far as work goes.
List 5 things that you accomplished.
Yeah. And so I would think if you were
Don's calling in. Just like 1 second. We're all on the air together now. Finish your thoughts, Suzette.
Oh, that's so funny. My phone said call ended.
No, you're here. Don called in, and I had to mute you so I could obtain his call.
Yeah, no problem. Hi.
Yeah, no. You take care of your technical stuff. I'm right here.
Go ahead and finish, Suzette.
So anyway, so I don't, as far as those people are concerned, they were told to do that. And other ways are analyzing data through a widespread, algorithm and filters to bring up certain criteria as far as for, being laid off. And so with that, that's how some of these people, got into or slipped down the cracks to where they were eliminated. And then it was like, oops, they fell into that filter. So like I said, it's going to be a bumpy road until they get it down. But, and again, it sucks, but as long as they're reinstated, like many people and that woman included, that's what I look at, just because, again, government or whoever is in charge could actually just say, oh, well, we'll find somebody else to fit their place, because we don't want to get, employee grief or anything like that as far as from that employee that was fired. So anyway, that's all.
Like, I don't know how many people the federal government hires, but like Bree McNulty, the one in Iowa City, she was already a chosen fellow for a very specialized job in the CDC. So the thing is that, as you know, the CDC has been under controversy due to COVID over the last 8 years, so to speak. Well, COVID started in around 2019, but it started in the Trump administration. Needless to say, a department like that is going to be under more scrutiny than like the Department of Agriculture. But I would like to say 1 or 2 things, and then I'll pull Don in. So I also heard this week, it's not just the government layoffs. I did discuss the Ukrainian supply of $20 billion of aid, by the way, Don, to the Ukraine, which is another topic. But I also heard that the Minnesota farmers, when Trump messed with the agricultural plan in 2018 under his first presidency, the Minnesota farmers never got their soybean customers back from China. It was a permanent damage. It was a permanent loss, and they had to find customers somewhere else. Now that the trade tariffs have pumped up between Canada and the U.S., and now Canada's slapping back with a 25% tariff on us, they're boycotting American liquor and other key products. The American farmers in Canada are having more trouble trading agricultural goods because of this. So I'm asking both Suzette and Don, why is Trump going after Canada? Why? Just because they don't want to be a 51st state? They're not an enemy. So one of you two go first.
Well, I can just say right off the bat that Canada's been a drain on the United States. And so that's why we're not too worried about them putting tariffs, because if they put the tariffs, then we just don't purchase. They need us more than we need them at this point. And so that's our leverage card. And so...
but why punish them? Why, they're going to stop buying liquor. They're going to raise prices on steel. So these steel plants in Kentucky and other places are going to suffer. And Rand Paul is very upset about it.
Well, most people would be. But again, these things are to bring Canada back to heel because because lately they've been doing this business as far as we want the United States to do this or this or this, dragging us into and Mexico. Well, Mexico is volunteering to do it, but to support the Ukrainian war, and then Trudeau, not Trudeau, is it Trudeau? I always get him.
He's still
Macron
in charge.
confused.
He was supposed to leave office, but he didn't.
Yeah, because you have somebody over there propping him up saying, no, don't let him do that to you. What you could do is put tariffs, boycott, not buy, this and that. But see, he's being told the wrong things. And so anyway, that's just a leverage that we're using. And I'm not too concerned about it as far as hurting us because we have other trade countries that have been recently opened lines of trade with other countries, smaller countries, but when you add them all up, it'll end up working out in the end. As far as the agriculture goes and the farmers and the soybeans go, Trump did work out a deal. They did. They were able to send their stuff to China and get paid for that the first, the first season or harvest or whatever it is. And by the second.
Well, on NPR, the guy said the exact opposite. He said he lost him and he never got him. Did your call cut off? Don?
I'm still here.
Suzette? All right, Don, why don't we talk a little bit? Maybe she can call back in. She's still on the call.
Okay.
Oh, wait, here she is.
Hello. Stupid. I keep getting. I understand that all the things that were promised by Trump, some as far as the beef and the soybeans and all of that, those things were to go into effect in 2021. And then Biden had raised the tariffs in his first 100 days. And those countries were like, hey, you guys said this and now you're taking it back. That you're going to raise those tariffs. Now, we're canceling the contracts. Forget it. We're not doing that. So.
Okay, well, I'm going to look into it because I only heard the one interview. Now, Don started talking and we're going to have him talk, but I have a question, Suzette. Is your phone not charged or what's the deal?
I have no idea. I have 78% on there and I have no idea what's going on. So I'm going to just keep hanging on. If I have to call back, I'll call back.
Okay, Don, go ahead with your thoughts so far.
Sorry, I just didn't get there. Didn't get to hear Suzette at the start. But there are a lot of questions about what the president is doing. And I'm assuming that's part of what this conversation was about because when you start talking soybeans and when you start talking about money, the crypto guys, Doge, were led into the Treasury building 2 days ago, or 3 days ago. And so we're finding out if we have any money there. They want to go into Fort Knox. So we may not have any gold, and then because the Clintons and all these other white people, they sent it to England and then China.
What are they trying to do? Are they trying to empty our reserves?
Well, right now we're under the cloak of darkness, are getting our reserves back stocked up with gold bars from the Bank of England and a couple of other places that we lent them out to get interest rate, to get the interest and leasing rates of our gold bars to prop up other countries, specifically China. And this is all conjecture, but right now, I guess Trump is just not finding out or has known about it and needs these bars back so that we can have something in Fort Knox if they audit, because they're threatening to audit Elon. So It's threatening. So we were going to see if we would have a dollar, we might be in an immediate collapse, recession. Everybody's money's gone. All the crypto stuff is going to come to prominence because it's not backed by the dollar. So we're going to have, a whole change scenery. And in a lot of ways, all of this is good because it'll give everybody else an opportunity to take some kind of position in the American economy when it's destroyed.
Okay. I know that in France last week they burned down a whole lot of Tesla cars, and that Elon Musk stock has gone down 65% or so, and
$100 billion.
There's been aggravated fires in at least 2 places, and like people like Antifa in Europe are going after his ass. I'm not saying it's morally right, but they're sabotaging him.
There's no problem because he's insured.
That's not the point. They're still ruining the earth. Produced things, humans made produced objects out of steel and all kinds of things. They're still ruining things.
You sound like a Republican. They won't even let them speak. They've had town halls where they've canceled all over the country because they won't let Republican.
I did hear that. Hear that. They shut them down.
They're imbeciles, and that's the demographic that it was sought out. And so they said, and that's the only thing that we can rely on is that in 2 years, maybe some people will wake up. But Bernie
Sanders spoke in Altoona and Kenosha, Wisconsin, and he had an overflowing crowd in each place.
No, we're trying to, everybody, all parties are trying to develop some kind of a program that they can take in the next, couple months in order to survive. This is an existential situation that we're in. The country will be in a constitutional convention within the next 2 years, changing the Constitution, which everybody, and he said he never did, but yada yada, every word that comes out of his mouth is a lie. And it is for everybody. I would like to do that. So it's not just him.
What if Elon had his burn down those buildings himself because his stocks are sinking?
Well, and it's his fault, but he doesn't matter. He doesn't mind the little temporary setbacks of Tesla because he's got control of the U.S. president. So this is just the simplest version. He has plenty of money, $100 billion. It's like,
it's not a setback. The insurance will pay him for those fires, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, what if he did that just because he doesn't want them anymore, the company, as far as the cyber trucks and all that, because people aren't buying them, People
are refusing to buy, but I think they should refuse to buy them, but I don't think they should burn them down. Maybe they should kidnap the vehicles and bring them to the Gaza Strip.
Tesla made the first
target.
They made their first profit 2 years ago. And so that's what they want to maintain for SpaceX and everything else, all the other leverage that he has around the world. And so that's why I say $100 billion for him, for a diversion for him to be able to access the U.S. Treasury it's peanuts. It's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that Elon Musk could? What if Elon Musk gave?
Do you understand accessing the U.S. Treasury?
Elon Musk could give $2 billion to Gaza right now out of his own pocket.
$2 billion, that's Trump change.
Why would he want to do that?
I'm wondering why would he want to do that too? He doesn't even have a plan.
He's a racist white man, so he probably wouldn't.
Oh, well, I mean, if he was Jewish, isn't he part Jewish?
No. His grandfather was a nut. Guess where his great-grandfather was born? On the mother's side, guess where?
In Germany.
Pequot Lakes, Minnesota. I got stupid Elon Musk roots in my own state. Then his maternal great-grandfather emigrated he was a labor union man. And then he was also an inventor, and he moved to Canada and invented some business, including aeronautics, like airplane making. And then he used to take Elon as a young boy down to South Africa, from Canada to South Africa on a plane and back, and showed him all the ropes. But anyways, he was a subscriber to the Nazi Party. They don't have a lick of Jew in them.
Well, that's what Trump's great grandfather was worked with company that worked for the SS. So that's why they are so swimming partners.
Now, the one person who is Jewish is Zelensky. He had a great grandfather die in the war and 3 great uncles in World War II.
I think it's a good thing he's not Jewish, Elon. Then I'm really worried.
Why? They turn on themselves all the time. That,
No, they don't. They're loyal to their own people.
That's it. That they put down their race as white when they put down any kind of demographic or biographical information.
You know who puts the Jews down?
Many of them have changed their name, as you know, so they're not even using or proud of their own names. And that's a shame.
Well, that's because in the 40s and 50s they were persecuted.
They were black people didn't have their own names. We'd love to have our own name. Be crazy.
Well, that's a good point, actually.
We'd love to have our own name back. We do a lot of things that we do is because we don't have the responsibility of our own names. We're using somebody else's name, and we don't give a fuck what that name is used for. We don't care. As a matter of fact, in many instances, we revert to going against the name on purpose. It's just something that we would, as African American peoples, like to have African names back. That's why our first names of our children are a little different.
We know that. We talked about it on a couple of shows. Now, Jesse Eisenberg, the actor who played Mark Zuckerberg a long time ago, he just produced a new movie called A Real Pain. And Macaulay Culkin's brother won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and he also won a SAG Award. It's about 2 Jewish cousins who decide to go to Dachau, one of the camps, to go see where their relatives died. It's actually kind of a dramedy comedy until you get to the end when they're actually in the camp. But the Jewish people did conceal their identity because they had to do it to save their life. But now that the Black Hebrew Israelites are now, there's a segment of them who are trying to disclaim the white Jewish history and trying to reclaim their own stance in the Judaic history and culture.
Yeah, well, the black Jew was the first Jew. So
they were only one of the 10 tribes of Israel. They weren't all. Not all the tribes were black.
No, not all of them, but
there was the Ethiopian tribe on the Horn of Africa.
They're black.
That's who I'm talking about. They were one of the tribes was black.
Right.
So John Boy is supposed to call in, so I'm going to let you guys talk a few minutes while I try to get a hold of him.
Okay. Don't Israel, I don't know, Israelites, people from Israel, Jewish people, basically consider themselves white?
In
Yes.
America. Yeah.
The Ashkenazi Jews from Spain are white. All the European Jews are white.
Okay.
I was just talking about there's a radical new religion that's been around 25 years
Yeah.
called Black Hebrew Israelites, where they're trying to take all the promises of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and say that they're the real Jews. And then some of them are even Holocaust deniers. So it's creating a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think it would. Yeah.
You
Definitely.
can't just wipe out 6 million deaths. Okay, hold on a minute, you guys, while I call John.
So what's going on?
I'll wait till he calls in. He didn't answer.
How you doing, Suzette?
I'm doing okay. Doing better.
Yeah, no, you're in the hospital. I was just worried about you, praying for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, the good Lord must have been listening to you guys because I feel much better.
John prayed. John and Don prayed.
John's on the line?
No, not yet, but they prayed for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It really helps and warms my heart. I tell you. Because when you go in like that and you're found to be sepsis, and it's not a good time.
You gotta stay active.
She's paralyzed, you dumbass.
I know, but you gotta move your fingers or something. Get that heart pounding.
Right, yeah.
Breathe fast for about half an hour.
I got to get started with my physical therapy again.
There you go.
So do they give you 5-pound weights that you can do arm bends?
No, they give me their bands, like rubber bands, but they're bigger and they're in different colors. So you have like the green one that you start out with, and then you go to the red, and then the next one I have, what is it, brown, I think, or yellow? And so they get more, tighter. So I have to work harder with each level that I go up. So
They gave me those once. I think it was, I had to put the rubber band under my foot and then do arm curls with it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I don't remember exactly what I was supposed to do.
The ends are open, so you tie it in a knot, not too tight, and then you stick your foot in it.
Nice.
And,
Can you?
Yeah,
Are you able to do that without Rob?
Yes, that's one of the main reasons why they gave me that, so I can do exercises in bed by myself.
Cool.
I'll show you next time I see you.
I think that you should have a home health aide come over for 3 times a week for 2 or 3 hours.
For cleaning and stuff. I would totally love that.
Yeah.
But because I have a husband that works, they said that he can take care of me. And so I don't qualify.
So they don't give you any options, in other words?
No, not even just for a day. A day would help. But yeah, they said that because I have a husband, he's working, I don't qualify. So I was like, that doesn't even make sense.
Didn't they pass a law recently that they can be a caregiver, paid caregiver? But it has to be full time, I think.
Yes, it would have to be full time, and at the most that he would qualify for being my personal caregiver would be 4 hours. And it's like, are you kidding me?
Maybe you could get someone from the church, a church, to help.
Well, I'm filing for him to be my caregiver. And so I have my nurse helping me justify the reasons for having him. Number one, we don't have a place where anybody that does come in from the outside to stay with us, there's no room. And so I do need round the clock because I can't get up to go to the bathroom. I have the catheter and everything. So he takes care of all of that. So it's round the clock care. And so anyway, she doesn't see why they won't grant it as far as for a full-time caretaker. But we're working on that paperwork right now. So let's see how that goes.
I'm good.
Well,
I know
can hear your band hinting up right now as we speak.
I know someone in
my brain.
I know someone in California. He was a postal worker.
Mm-hmm.
He got paid eventually to take care of his mother.
Oh, my neighbor does it. His mom takes care of him, and it was like totally easy for them to do it, without having to justify it. And she doesn't even live with him, but she's considered his full-time caretaker. So I'm like, how did you do that? He's like, I don't know.
Well, ask him for more specific advice.
Yeah. Well, the more specific advice is the wording of, and you have to be able to prove with evidence that why I'm having to have him be full-time and be my caregiver, or that I need one and he could do it type thing. So it's mostly based on evidence because it has to be from the doctor. It can't just be like us saying, I need him to do this and this and this throughout the day, so that's why we need him, or I need him. They are really sticklers on proof. So just like with disability, Social Security disability, they want proof, which is fine, no problem. I mean, if you're actually disabled, then yeah.
You should already be getting a check for full disability.
Yeah, well, I figured, okay, so at the beginning it was like, well, I should be okay. He's working and we'll be fine. And then when he got laid off, it was like, okay, maybe we won't. And then when I went to look into applying, then they said it was going to be, 5 years down the road before we get even looked at to or reviewed for us. And I was like, are you kidding me?
What?
That's how far they were backed up.
When did he get laid off?
He got laid off last year. What month? I don't know. April? May.
And he got rehired somewhere
But he went
else?
back to work, right?
Yeah, he just recently had started back to work in January again, so that's a good thing.
Ah. I think you guys should move to a state with less people to get better.
It's less expensive.
You get better services, and they don't make you wait 5 years for disability.
Yeah, I know. That's so weird. And then you get all the back pay from the time that you applied if you are approved. It's like, well, that's good, I guess. But in the meantime, but I wanted to not have to deal with, as far as the Social Security disability goes, until it was like we super, super need it, just because, and with the 5-year wait, there you go. There's a super, super need it. But that's our retirement, part of our retirement, Social Security. And so I didn't really want to mess with that if we didn't have to. But anyway, getting back to the caregiving stuff.
Well, wait, you're not anywhere near 62 years old, though, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, let's go back to what we were talking about if you want.
Yeah, I guess there was a recent bill passed in the Senate that hasn't gone through the House yet, but having to do with banks, debanking, and the risks of debanking, and the GOP senators passed it, and they're presenting it as though...
I did hear about that.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of concerned about what that is. I have to read some more about it, but I didn't know if anybody heard about it.
I did hear that there was a relaxing of issuing loans, and I could just be your common person and go into the bank and demand a loan, and there's less restrictions now. So I can look it up online quick while we're talking. Don, why don't you talk about some of your stuff while I'm looking?
No, I wanted to make a comment on the banks getting, they're getting less tips, I guess. They're relaxing their lending qualifications right now because they think that the interest rates are coming down, so they think that people are ripe for coming back into the lending space. So there are a lot of things that are coming on, but some of this is pure speculation, where people are in dreamland. And they think that the reason that 47 is back is because he's going to give them everything they want, money-wise. And, there's a good chance that 3 or 4 years down the road, we will be recompensed from this actual fact. But right now, people are ready that things are going to get better, and we won't have any problems at all in the next year or two, because their savior is here to rescue them. So that's the
I found the act. It's called the Safe Banking Act 2025. The Safe Banking Act, or Secure and Fair Enforcement Banking Act, is a bill that would protect. Don, can you mute yourself? The silverware is clinking.
I don't have silverware.
Oh, okay. The Safe Banking Act is to ensure that would protect banks and insurers from federal penalties when they provide services to state legal cannabis businesses. This bill also aims to reduce the reliance on cash and improve the security. This is a different one, I'm sorry. This has to do with weed.
Yeah, no lie, because that was just deregulated too. Banks can now deal in more or less transactions for marijuana.
Senate bill would remove reputational risk from bank supervision. The Senate Banking Committee, Tim Scott, committee chair, introduced legislation to prevent federal banking regulators from using reputational risk as a component in supervision. I don't know. We're going to have to do this next week. It's too deep.
Okay. Yeah, I heard a little bit of both sides, and it is kind of deep. The one side that's against it talks about how it will hurt people more than it will help people, as far as people being debanked for not having the right politics or the right speech, and that it gives banks more power to do that, or corporations to do that. And if they're doing something, the corporations, that is, and people are against it, then as far as having those people debanked or something like that. Like I said, I just barely heard a little bit of arguments. So the other side that's for it says that it's supposed to prevent banks from debanking people based on, opinions, political belief, misinformation, disinformation, or whatever. That the banks are just supposed to keep themselves to themselves and do banking and don't worry about that other stuff, getting into personal politics and this and that. So I don't know. I'm with you on this as far as let's talk about more of that next week.
I have a couple other things I want to throw out there, and then you guys can make personal comments.
Just remember, redlining has been here forever and will continue to exist no matter what.
Okay, my next comment overall is that Trump thinks he can walk into sovereign lands and take them. He tried to punish Mexico with tariffs because he was worried about drug trade and illegals, which is normal. But Mexico handed over 29 drug lords to Trump last week, and he was still trying to F with them. but then he backed down. He backed down and told the president he'd give him a moratorium for 30 days. And basically, he's making enemies out of everyone, including the American people. We are now Donald Trump's enemies. He's not helping us, he's hurting us. So I'd like some feedback.
He always has. His first term, he was so busy deflecting lawsuits and comments and speculations and accusations, he didn't have a chance to really adopt many of his platforms at all. And
well, that's
so
a good point.
He's trying to make up for it, and right now he's going through it like the persons he admires, and that's the Nazi mafia bosses, dictators. Those are the kind of people that he's grown up with. He followed them, and like you say, many every show he speaks with the Mein Kampf on his.
Does he realize he doesn't have to do that in every situation? He doesn't have to go with fist fighting to solve problems. He can approach it a different way.
He's been there before. He's been a really nice guy. When he was really young, growing up, he was kind of like, he was dumb. He was goofy motherfucker. And he had, kind of like...
Not necessarily. He told an ABC correspondent that he wouldn't give Marla Maples $25 million settlement because it was his money and he made it.
He didn't make it. He's a liar ever since then. I can't say that was his first lie, but it might be the first of his.
He basically told the lady that Marla can have $1 million. She's not getting nothing more because I built my empire.
Right. Well, he didn't build shit, but his granddad and dad did. But bottom line is that he was last in his class at Princeton.
No, he went to a place like West Point. It was a military academy.
Whatever, he was last. He was last in his class. So
by the time he married Marla Maples, as far as that $1 million from his dad, I mean, you either maintain it or you blow it. And so, you only get the $1 million one time.
Well,
so,
that was his second wife, Suzette.
Marla Maples.
He left Ivana for Marla Maples.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. By the time he married Marla Maples, that $1 million had already been given long ago, prior to that. And so, but he still had money by the time he married Marla Maples. Then it was no longer his father's money because he already had made that again. Otherwise, it would have been worth over $1 million.
Don, she's right in a sense. He did go bankrupt several times, but
that's what I'm trying to say.
The lenders kept him because they said they wanted to make money off the Trump name, even though he was an economic disaster.
Well, he was about to shit. Yeah, first. No, that's how he makes money. You don't understand, Suzette, and neither does the rest of the party that you represent. And that's the sad part about it. He makes his money with tax evasion, tax increment, not paying workers, bankruptcies. That's how he makes his money. That's what you call, what are those investors? They just come in to destroy things.
Well, you have to have more than that than just tax money and not paying employees if you're developing buildings, and that such. But anyway, set that aside for a second.
That's called stealing.
All right, you guys.
There are a lot of people that do that as far as use tax money or to work with the government to get subsidies to build things. But,
A whole lot of white theft. Okay. And we're finding out about it. And
well, we don't really debate.
What I like about Trump.
But this stuff has been exposed for a long time.
We don't need to piss and moan. You want to know why? He made.
It's validated. It hadn't been audited.
No, he made $58 million the end of 2024 off of a stupid crypto mugshot of him and Melania.
Yeah, but he had 2 things go bankrupt. So he had
We know. I know.
We had those tax credits coming to him too, because you're making money when you don't have to pay back your debts.
Well, it was his businesses that had filed for bankruptcy, which a lot of businesses do. Personal
His debts
bankruptcy.
are 13.
He never.
13.
Okay, but they weren't personal. They were all business.
That's
He hasn't had.
we put him under LLC.
Well,
LLC.
I'm just saying, as far as personal bankruptcies, no.
No,
He has not
he has
had any.
not.
And he hasn't had like 13 bankruptcies. He's had less than that. I think there were actually three
So,
or four. Over time.
Last 5 years.
Yeah. I'll look him up to get you that answer.
And then throw in the whatever his piece of shit daughters, Ivana.
Jesus.
What's his piece of shit daughter's name?
Ivana and Tiffany. Tiffany's from Marla.
Yeah, Tiffany's a drug addict.
No, she's not. She just finished law school in Georgetown.
Whatever.
Okay, I want to talk about cryptocurrency. Trump, 1 billion coins were created for Donald. 8 million remain. Trump has cryptocurrency. 200 million were publicly released, but I think he made about 58. He made 350 million off of one of them. Okay, guys. So what I'm saying is that no matter how unpopular he is, somebody's still willing to bankroll him. And he has a lot of money now because of that crypto deal.
It's his name. He has his own brand. He is well known, probably all over the world, as one of the best con men.
Brand names. I mean, there you go. And yep, that's where he's making most of his money. Is basically just to put his name on a hotel. He may not have anything to do with it except for just having his name plastered on it. He gets paid for that.
That's how he made his money in his latter years. Because after some of his businesses failed, the banks decided, okay, this guy's a bad risk, but we're gonna use his name as an emblem to make money.
And that's what they do. Now crypto. That's his money. That's his brand.
Well, he didn't make it. He had people help him, but he's profiting off of it. Because about 5 years ago, he condemned the crypto business.
Exactly, and he lied then. He's lying now. He'll lie until he dies.
Actually, it was the CBDC that he had condemned, not crypto.
The CBD?
Yeah, the government digital, what do you call it? Digital money that they wanted to transfer everything over to, because they could track you and all this other, and it wasn't good. But crypto, he's always supported crypto.
Well, I saw a speech where he was expressing doubts about crypto. In between his between 2020 and 2024, it was sometimes in that period that he was doubting crypto. I have to go back and look, and I can't change Windows right now.
Yeah, he was basically telling everybody not to worry about it, but it's like, well, but that's what we're changing, converting over to, because it's just the times, the era or whatever that we live in. And I don't think he knows very much about it at all, to tell you the truth. And so he's getting informed bits and pieces. And so somebody probably told him about the crypto coin that he could create his own. And he went, oh, okay. All right, let's do it.
And he made a Donald and Melania coin, and it was successful. By the way, you guys, I'm not going to call John this late in the show. We've been on the air 45 minutes. So let's do our summaries now, because I think people are getting more used to the idea of Donald Trump in office, and now they're just wondering when all the hullabaloo is gonna die down. So,
You stupid. Jesus, James.
Don, you're getting tired and you're just mumbling. Now, just say things in a constructive way.
Oh, are we going to do our historical, little flip as far as our
Sure, we
historical
can do
goes?
that tonight. I'm not ready to cut it off.
In other words, you lied.
I didn't lie. I was winding things down, but I forgot that Suzette and I have this new pattern. Suzette, go first with your historical figure.
Okay. How many people knew that Warren G. Harding had coined the term the Founding Fathers?
I didn't.
Yeah, the Founding Fathers never knew of their famous title since the term wasn't uttered until Warren G. Harding mentioned it in his acceptance speech in 1920. Republican National Convention, then, he said in a speech, it was, quote, it was the intent of the Founding Fathers to give this republic a dependable and enduring popular government, unquote. By the time the original Founding Fathers had all passed away, so they didn't even know that they were named the Founding Fathers. And that's it.
That's cool. That's kind of like a reflection.
Yeah.
I didn't do this one. I didn't do one this week.
Okay.
Well, I did.
Cool. Let's hear it.
No, it was the I.D. Wells and the
H.G. Wells?
I.D. Wells.
Ida Wells?
Yeah. And they, Carver and all those guys started the NACP in 1909 to stop lynchings or help stop that with the bad treatment of housing and things like that. And the Willie Lynch letters, everybody needs to read those, How to Make a Slave. And you'll see how white people just killed the men and beat the women in front of everyone so that they can understand that the white man is in charge. And this happened frequently until 1930s. So just Ida B. Wells and Willie Lynch, if you guys read the Willie Lynch letters, you'll see just how America was built.
Nice.
Don't know if most people know that, as far as the beatings and the lynchings and the hangings and all that go, and that we actually had slaves here in America. I'm just curious. I mean, I don't know of anybody who doesn't.
They were the ones who were beaten. More black slaves were killed, than the Holocaust and everything. So,
okay. I'm just saying that as far as our population goes, the black population is 13%. You could say the majority is mostly, brown, because the whites are no longer majority, but they were for the longest time. And if they were the ones that were doing it, then and the black community was the one receiving it, I think a lot of people would know already about it.
About what?
About the slavery and the beatings. If the white people were doing the beatings, the hangings, the lynchings, they know what happened because they were the ones doing it. If the slaves were the one that were receiving it, then they knew about it. So I'm just saying.
Okay, well, why are they trying to rip it out of our school system?
What's that? Education?
Yeah.
They're not trying to rip anything out of education. They're just trying to get rid of the education that's taking, as far as Washington goes, and dictating to schools what they need to educate people on. And what they're doing is actually having the state and the district decide what's going to be taught in that school besides the reading, writing, and arithmetic. And to accompany that, as far as if the school and the parents, because the parents that's the whole idea, is the parents getting involved with the school and what's being taught to their children. So, in black communities where it's predominantly black, you may have those parents that want that history taught specifically, not just American history, but specifically delve into black history and so on and so forth.
Here is his wife, Pat Galmore, somewhat of an historian. first of all, history is just history. We're talking about teaching history of the United States. And part of the United States history is slavery. Unfortunately, it might not be a pretty thing, just like, when we're talking about the Civil War, nobody talks about distinguishing the Civil War from history when we're talking about it in different areas and different neighborhoods, right? So when you go and you say, well, a person who's Black, African American, might want to learn about slavery in that particular school, but we don't say. But once again, I had to learn about the Civil War regardless. So of where I lived, as African American. So that is a fallacious statement, actually, because basically all history of the United States should be taught to everyone, regardless of whatever your demographics may be in your area. It doesn't matter. As I said, growing up as an African American, growing up in Los Angeles, we had to learn about Christopher Columbus discovering America in 1492, which we all know is not true, right?
Right. And I live in San Bernardino. I'm familiar with the school system here in California.
And so am I, because that's where I'm from. What I'm saying is all history is American history is American history, whether it be Black, white, green, indifferent. We learn about the Japanese being put in internment camps. We didn't learn about that, but we should have. We should learn about all history. History is just history, and it might not be pretty, but we're going to teach it. We should be teaching it to our youth and to our children in such a way where we won't repeat it again. Because history is reciprocal sometimes. If we don't learn from it, then we continue to repeat that history. All we're saying is that we want history, all history, to be taught. And we don't want it to be broke down where if I'm in a predominantly Black school, we're going to talk about slavery as being part of it and leave out some other things. No. It doesn't matter where you live, your demographics are, it should be taught. And what John Green talked about was the NAACP in terms of his statement was in 1909, the NAACP was formulated, but before that, it was the Niagara Falls movement, right? And there was Jewish people that were talking about getting African Americans and stop having them lynched and what have you. The NAACP is for everyone. We are a civil rights organization. We do for everyone. But initially, it was formulated because Blacks were being lynched. Part of our history back from that is basically America was actually built on our backs, on African Americans, and that's what he was trying to get out. Sometimes he's not very eloquent in terms of what he says, but that's kind of what he was getting at in terms of the history. Now, it's been 116 years now that this organization has been in the United States, and there are so many people out there that don't know what NAACP stands for. There's so many, and the reason I know that is because I'm out and I'm talking to all these individuals, and they're telling me, what is it? I'm wearing this shirt that says NAACP, and they're like, what is that? And then I tell them, they're like, what? Because it's not in history. It's not really, if you think about it, and I didn't learn about NAACP when I was going to school, it's something that was just in my household. So why don't we know about different organizations? Hell, we know about the damn Ku Klux Klan, we know about the John Birch Society, we certainly know about them.
I knew about the KK. I knew about the
I'm just saying, as far as the history, what's being taught in the schools, and the parents can decide, along with the school district, as far as what things to be taught. Now, I agree with you as far as all history should be taught. All American history should be taught. But as far as the schools and the school system goes, they only have so much time to learn. So that's why I say if we can learn the history in general, as far as each portion of it from the founding to now, and just briefly hit and touch each one. But if there is a school that wants to make an extra curriculum to delve into specific that's in their area, like maybe the tribal lands, if there's an extracurricular class that maybe the students feel like they would like to delve into, well, then that should be made available, or whatever the school district and the parents decide as far as that goes. And so that gives parents more flexibility to understand, participate, and contribute to what their children are learning. That's all.
Okay.
Suzette is not the problem. I knew about the end. Are you guys on two different phones? It's,
Jane is acting right.
no, are you on two different phones? Because it's making friction.
Okay, well, one of the things I just wanted to mention is that you know that I was one of the biggest. I have one of my bills. I'm a lobbyist, so I have one of my bills, AB 234 in 2015 passed, and that was just for half an hour. Every other social studies class to have real history, and just history, just like Willie Lynch letters. You can look from right out of the mouth of both, the evil babes, white babes.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good job.
But those things cannot be taught because they're too violent, too cruel, and things like that. But they should be mentioned because that is the template of how whites treated blacks. The problem was that the teachers refused to get training. They completely said no to get taking courses, taking classes, like that. And that was the biggest thing right then. Then 4 years later, when they slowly started rolling out some training, then CRT came about, and now I've got to fight CRT. Critical race theory, and I've mentioned many times on the show, doesn't even exist.
Don't use the acronym, use the whole world, because not everybody knows it.
Yeah, but I said it, critical race theory.
Yeah. I'd like to
I agree with you there. As far as the grade levels too, that may be something more for high school students. Right before they hit the world, they'll be informed about what had happened and what's going on. Yeah.
We're looking at 9th grade above.
Yes, perfect.
There are a lot of people in the 9th grade, 10th grade who will never finish school, but if they had a little idea of how America was made, they would understand it.
Yeah, not only that, but because it'll be in them fresh once they exit high school, it will give them ideas as far as what they want to do to change the world.
Exactly. I mean, you're opening up your mind. You don't even know. I lived in a white world. Everybody I deal with, I'm 95% are white. So I know I have to develop my skills to live in that world, and my skills are straightforward. I found out that I can live in the world being transparent, straightforward, and no nonsensical. And that's
Don. I would like a chant. We're 7 minutes over the time, and I'd like to say something.
All right. Well,
Minnesota has tons and tons and tons of culturally engaged programs in our school. We have a whole elementary school devoted to Minnesota Ojibwe language, immersion schools, Spanish immersion. The kids only talk Ojibwe in class. We have teacher training on Indian culture, Native American. That we're constantly being offered culturally competent classes on other cultures. I knew about the NAACP at age 5. I would watch the programs on CBS and ABC, the annual programs on Martin Luther King and other significant highlights in American history and transitional times. I knew about the NAACP for years. And I think that people have to realize it's like Suzette's not the enemy yet. Maybe she wasn't perceived that way, but she's right. During the time when Bush was in office, Common Core, they were thinking about eliminating all history classes and even some science classes, which was ridiculous. Because just learning math, English, and writing, that doesn't give any cultural context to community belongingness in schools.
It's all about money. You don't know how it starts.
Yeah, well, up here in Minnesota, okay, go ahead.
These are Norwegians and English and French.
Don't blame the Norwegians. They're not money grubbers.
No, but they're money grub big time. And that's what they did. They wanted to take away just like the president's doing now. You take away the existing infrastructure and put it in your own in place. So that's exactly what's happening now with what's happening then. And again, lying is fantastic on Trump because I was such a fan of his when he came to denounce Common Core. And he and Glenn Beck, they were big opponents to Common Core. They saw what it was going to do to the educational system, and they were overruled. So it was by Bush, and so our state, this just a bit of history. Our state was one of the 8 states that incorporated it.
I have to get John in here. Sorry. Don, you got Don? John's on the line and your last 60 seconds of speech got cut off.
That's fine.
Because it's the Jihad Jane hour and I'm the ultimate censor.
No, that's fine. Suzette knows about what I'm talking about.
Now I can go take a hot bath because John's here and he can talk to you guys. I'm going in the bathtub in 5 minutes. Say hi.
How are you doing, John?
Hi, John.
Suzette, we were concerned about you.
I heard. Thank you for your prayers.
We thought maybe, like you ran away or something.
I took like a permanent vacation out in, where did my sister go? I don't know, Taiwan or Vietnam.
I thought maybe you got a skateboard or something and, you just took off.
Oh, yeah, right. I took my e-bike.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Running around, challenging my neighbors, to, marathon runs and no takers.
Well, it's a tough town, can I tell you?
Yeah. So I'm doing all right. I'm doing much better, thank you very much for asking. We're having I think a good discussion about various things, agree, disagree, but I love that we can have them. So even Don's wife, I think it was your wife, that jumped in and contributed as well. And so that's awesome.
Don, they got
go ahead.
Oh
wow! When she jumps in, that's over. I mean, she's hardcore.
Something must have gone wrong. But
Don, she's smarter than you.
I know, she was awesome. She gave a counter to my statement, and it was great. She got on, she spoke her piece, and so that was good.
What pissed her? No, she got upset, and the reason is because the facts were flying, and you weren't giving the right facts. With one of the ones was he graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. He went to wrestling at first before he went to major college. But he was last to Penn. So that was one thing that riles her feathers. Let me put it like that. How you doing, John?
I'm doing great. It's a brave new world. It's a big orange world. Are you surviving?
No.
Oh, we're doing great. That's what I'm telling everybody. We're doing great. This whole thing is, we need this thing to be blown up. That's what we've always been protesting since I was 8 years old when I started protesting, walking, marching, and the main, topic was burn this shit down. And now,
right. I would think either both parties. What we want to find out about JFK, RFK, MLK, 9/11, CIA, FBI, Afghanistan, Iraq War, like open things up. Like let's let's get to the bottom of things, blow things up. People are in the way. Misspending money, lots of money. Get out of wars. Like, why are we putting money into just blowing up people? I don't get it.
I agree. I mean, we're spending money through a specific agency, one or anyway, I'm sure there are others, to use our CIA to go and start wars where we want regime change. And it's like, that's BS. What's the deal? I don't understand it.
Vietnam, the white boys think that communism is coming down the pipe. Everybody's so scared. Everybody, why are you people so scared?
I don't think it's about dominance. That's all. I think they just want to dominate the world.
Here, the only person who's this natural enemy to the white man is the black man. And so this whole thing, and it's coming down very clear, is that it's a white domination.
I love you, Don. I'm not afraid of you. I love you.
No, I love you.
Who hates you? Who hates you?
The white man.
Your white man hates you.
Yeah.
Donald Trump loves you, Don.
But he cannot admit that he's part black. He cannot admit that he's
What?
I don't mind.
Don thinks that the white man hacked his phone last week.
Oh, yeah, I did. I thought my phone went crazy twice while I was on the air. Wow. And I was like, damn, this white man has got my phone all.
Well, what are all the white people going to do? Like, do we have to get, like, spray tan or something for you to be happy?
Oh, no. It's all going to come naturally. I keep telling you about the facts. The fact that the black race is still, in America, still producing plus 5.6 babies. And Mexicans 5.2 and Asians 4.6. And the white man is minus 4.8. So that's just natural that he's done.
Yeah, but the black people keep aborting their babies.
Well, that just means there's more ladies to mess with to make pregnant.
And the rest of them end up in prison.
That's mainly influenced by white people, John.
John.
I'm listening.
The black people or abortion, as far as that goes, even white people or any other people, there's an agenda that have influenced those people, any people, as far as the abortion thing. They put out propaganda campaigns saying, be free, be confident, be a career woman, and they make it seem great and easy and no problem for you to abort your kid. And then, it's like and so people are influenced by that and they think, yeah. And then they end up praying. It's like, oh man, okay, well, I'll just make an appointment to have it aborted so I can continue with my life. But as far as white people go, there's a dominance and a natural inclination to, in their mind, succeed, as they call it. But that succession is also a dominance over others. And so it doesn't even matter if the people that they're dominating are white, whether, it's Asians can be considered white if you want to go by skin color. It's just the fact that they have that inclination to dominate via their success or achievements. And, you can bring that in and have it do good, or there's a lot of evil that's been done in this world because of it.
So, well, who are the great black successors for presidential office or for scientists or for in politics? I mean, who are the great black leaders that we have? Hakeem Jeffries?
Boy, that's because they've killed us all. That's what I always have to look behind my back.
I mean, since Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, what's been the greatest black leaders in the civil rights and things?
Oh, we've had thousands, but they've been all squashed in one way or another.
I mean, most of them are rappers, right? The most influential people in black culture are just rappers.
Well, we have Hank Johnson. He thinks that if you put too many people on one side of an island, that it'll tip over. He's a leader.
and it's tipping over. It's tipping over as we speak because we're going back right, and everybody's in heaven. They're in heaven, and they're,
No, he said the island, the Guam. If there are too many people that were on one side of it, he said it would tip over.
Right, and is that a metaphor, or is that an actual thing that island is going to tip over like tomorrow, and we're going to have a tsunami come across the Pacific?
Well, that was his question to one of the panel members that the committee hearing was having on, I don't know, a couple of years ago. So he was serious.
Okay, I'm just trying to see if she's literally serious or if that was a metaphor. Because if it's a metaphor, yes, if you get on too many people on one side of anything, it's going to tip over.
Well, here's a question. There's 3 superpowers, as far as I know, on the planet, right? It's like Russia, China, United States. Is that correct? Where's Africa? And cause we're talking about, the black people running the world. Isn't China the number 1 threat to the whole planet?
I don't know if what threat means, because you've got
to take over economically, politically, militarily, strategically.
I was just telling everybody, we were just talking about the Fort Knox and how it's empty. It's virtually empty. So potentially, I mean, according to some of the theories that some people have, from the Clinton era, when he lent money out to the Bank of England, so they can lease the money out, and we get interest on giving gold to China. And so we're practically trying to get the reserves back, the money's gold bars in the middle of the night, filling up Fort Knox, because Trump has threatened an audit. That's why they had one of the reasons they had the guy go into the DOJ the other day by himself from the crypto Doge. So we're in the process of being shaken up in the financial world. And we were just talking about banks starting to ease their lending because of something that came through. So this is looking like we're doing a total reverse. And like Suzette metaphor, we're going on the other side, and this ship could be sinking.
Well, it's interesting that if the black race is the most powerful force on the planet, could orange be the new black? I mean, isn't Donald Trump the ultimate gangster, the ultimate comeback king, the ultimate, you think about this guy, he's won the presidency twice, but he's done it after being impeached twice, after having 34 felony convictions, whether, a person, I don't think it's real, but the fact is they have, they ran the deal. Who else could and still win the majority of the country? Popular vote, both houses, and electoral. Who could do this? I don't know of no man, what color you got, that can do it. And he did it over Obama, who's supposed to be the black Jesus Messiah, the half white, half black. Anyway, Obama tried to run this thing to get him out. Didn't work. I mean, Obama had to retreat, basically, I think.
Real quick for the record, I was saying that Hank Johnson believed that Guam would tip over if there was a military base put on Guam with Marines. He said if there were too many of them, wouldn't it tip over? So it wasn't me that said that, it was Hank Johnson. I don't believe that either, as far as that would happen, but nevertheless. As far as the gold goes, we've been having a lot of gold that's been flying over, and it's mainly a lot of it coming from the UK. And then there's specifically Switzerland. They have a lot coming over, and they say that it's because of trying to get ahead of the tariffs. Increased gold imports, from Switzerland to the U.S. have reached record highs with January exports being the highest in at least 13 years. They say the surge is because it attributed to concerns a potential Trump administration could impose tariffs on imports from the EU, including gold. And so their inventories, as far as U.S. gold inventories, have more than doubled since the election day, with the amount of gold being transported to COMEX approved warehouses, but they still have to be go through the process as far as through our what do you call it, customs, and follow all those rules bringing that gold in. So yeah, as far as the gold being delivered, you know, as Americans, we'll never know what and how and where it's all going for real. So, and that's just government in general. It's not to say Trump administration, Biden administration, anybody administration. I'm just saying things move around like that. And we get to know what they want us to know about it, and that's it.
I know, and that's true. And watch the GLD, it is plunging. And that is an indication that there's something up in Denmark. It's, I believe that all of this gold transfer might have something to do with it. But it's they own pretty much 80%, 60 to 80% of all gold in the world. So extraction.
Right.
That means that there's something fishy in Denmark, and everybody should be looking at what's going on with the entire financial system and the insides.
And I say, go silver, baby, go.
Well, there's a wicked history to this, because I mean, as far as back as when the children of Israel made a golden calf and to worship when Moses went on the mountain to get the Ten Commandments. But if you look at about 30 something, 1930, FDR, they pulled the gold from the country. You had to turn in your gold, or you get thrown into jail, and they bought it back at minimum price, and then about 4 or 5 years later, they sold it to European banks, as far as I understand. And as in 1932, they did the Silver Act and gave because everyone switched from gold to silver, you know, trying to beat the government, and so they put a 50% tax on silver. And then we've been going along with this charade up until 70s, and then Nixon took us off the gold standard, so suddenly our money is fiat. It's worthless paper. And then on top of that, from what I hear, somewhere in the, I don't know if it's in the kind of between Bush and Clinton or somewhere in there, China, I believe, we tried to sell or send some gold to China, and then they were fake. They kind of put gold layer on the outside, but the inside was just like lead or something else. So they don't trust, like China's been stocking up on gold. Russia's been stocking up on gold. And Trump, you know, mastermind that he is, he says, have we ever done an audit? And they haven't since Nixon. They haven't done any. And why? Isn't it the most logical question? It's like, don't you check your bank account, right? If you have a bunch of cash in a vault or something, don't you, like, you know, once a year or every couple of years, like, I think I'll count my money, just make sure it's all there. I mean, that is wickedly dubious. There's something going on. And like Trump said, I hope it's all there. I think it'll all be there, which means he knows that there's something up with it. Isn't that crazy?
What's crazy about it is he's got his hand in some of the cookie jar. He's been there before, so he would be stupid if he didn't think. You know, I think it was who said that Elon said there may be even to make sure there is even gold. Let's see, lead bars painted with gold. So, you know, there's apparently a big rush to get more gold bars into the actual Fort Knox. So we'll see how that works out. But, you know, table list for next week too. What else is going on, John?
Oh, well, I just want to say something real quick. There was one state in the union, in our union, that accepted gold as legal tender. Gold and silver, that was Utah. That was the first. And now there are 11 states that have joined Utah in accepting gold and silver as legal tender.
Ooh. Can we buy gold bars? I want to buy a gold bar.
You should be able to, because it's used as legal tender, so you should be able to go to their banks and be able to exchange that.
I would love to too, but you should not, because the actual production of gold is now $52.82. So that's how much a gold bar is actually worth, and it's worth $2,920 today or something like that. Wow. That's a pretty big sway where you can get hit, and who knows what's going to happen. So I would stay away from it right now, but in the future I can see it expanding.
Well, shifting to gold and silver, though, as currency would actually could eliminate the capital gains taxes on sales of gold and silver. So the richies won't have that advantage anymore over people that can buy a piece or two or a bar, So that would be one good thing as far as impacts go.
Well, I also was wondering.
Wow, you really said that. There's going to be capital gains no matter what.
That's not the way it works, but okay. Go ahead, sorry.
Wow.
Interesting. Well, now, the last time we had talked we talked about the border, and I know for years people were saying, well, the wall isn't going to work, all this stuff isn't going to work, but I see that 95% of the traffic has been shut down in 30 days. Do we have any explanation for this other than Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, we have a mandate, and so that's something people have to respect. But the wall does help. I never said the wall didn't help, but I was never against the wall. As a matter of fact, if you look at other things, other shows, I don't mind a wall, but I said that I need a wall around Canada. And people always say, Shushu is too big, fuck you. We need a wall around Canada because half of the immigrants are coming in through Canada. And, luxury airlines and yachts. They're coming in through that way. They're not coming in through Mexico. So we're only looking at half of the picture with one eye closed. And,
well, that's true, but most of the fentanyl and the people are going into the Mexico. So I guess you got to start somewhere, in the mix.
We didn't say anything about fentanyl, and yes, the majority of that is coming through Mexico.
Right. John was talking just people. But yeah, they're being flown to Canada, then from Canada they're crossing the border. So we have actually, the country, I say we, but our country has actually recently been working on the northern border because of that. But, so it's finally being recognized.
But we need a wall around them. Canadians are...
Yeah. Why not?
They don't give a shit. They would love to pay for a wall, just like we're doing with Mexico. And,
well, if we could make them part of the U.S., we wouldn't have to build a wall.
Yeah, well, we have an imperialist dictator president, so
he thinks outside of the box. Imagine Greenland all the way to the United States. I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, we would protect our coastlines, national security. We'd have lots of resources. It's a brilliant move. We get very fixed. It's like, remember, Texas used to be part of Mexico, right? We were haggling with the French over what part of Canada we get, then, hey, let's get Alaska, right? Let's talk to the Russians. Let's buy that. So a lot of times we think things are so fixed. It's like the whole world is in transit. You look at Ukraine, Russia, that thing's been going on for thousands of years. Like since that before 32 BC AD, they were fighting back then. They didn't call it Ukraine, but that whole area, they'd have the RUS, the Rus, which I guess became Russians, and they had all these different names, and I think around in the 1912 or so, right around that era, they decided to call that little area Ukraine. But they've been fighting back and forth forever. Like, you can't resolve that issue. It's like Hamas and Israel. Always, it's a blood thing.
My fear is that an alternative to having Greenland or Canada as part of the U.S. is that a union is created like the EU, and I don't want that. And that goes to world government, and so I hope that conversation. Rumors are bouncing on Washington about that, and I don't like that idea whatsoever.
Well, the problem with Canada, from what I understand, is that it's basically Britain. I mean, it's under the crown. And I was coaching a friend about this because he didn't understand, and he's very knowledgeable. I said, you realize that Trudeau, whoever's prime minister, they make a speech. They get sworn in, and their oath, it says, I pledge allegiance to the service for Her Majesty or the Queen or the King. And also, it's really interesting that, that the word servant, like I'm the servant of the King or the Queen. Like, right. That's not just, I'm a public official, like I serve them. So like that's their master. And then it also says that it's everything discussed is under privy council. It's private discussion, and I will not. They swear to not divulge any information they talk. Isn't it interesting? It's like example, me is I pledge my allegiance to. I'm her servant, and all discussions and information are confidential. I cannot divulge it. It's like the first question is, what are you guys talking about? Right. The peasants, they're supposed to serve the people. It's like, no, in that society, it's like they're still in charge. Like, if they say the royals aren't, they're just, it's just, it's for scenery. It's not real. Like the parliament runs it. It's like, well, wait a second. Why is Trudeau serving the Queen, not Parliament, and how come all their conversations are confidential?
Yeah, just like when the truckers were basically everything was frozen, as far as their assets or any type of money, access to their money in the banks and stuff like that. That may have come down from not Parliament, but one of their private discussions, and then they implemented it.
I mean, basically, Trump was offering them to cede from England. If you think about it, like if they became part of the United States, they would switch, their oath of loyalty. I mean, basically,
I looked
it would be to the United States flag, not the Queen of England. Or
I looked it up.
Now, or Prince William.
Canada has been independent from England for over 50 years.
Did you hear what we just talked about, Jane? Though
I was in the bathtub.
The Prime Minister gives his oath, and when he's sworn in, that he's the servant of the Queen or the King. Do you know what a servant is?
Yes.
He's her bitch. Or actually, now it's King Charles, right? He's his slave. A servant is a slave, and not only that, all conversations are privy council, and they can't be divulged. It says, I will not divulge or discuss any of the, I can read the oath off for you. It's a secret deal. He can't talk about what the Queen or the King tells him to do. It's crazy. You think that they're just figureheads? They call the shots.
Can I answer you?
Go right ahead.
I did a video earlier and I made a mistake. I said that Canada is subject to England. Then I looked it up and it said, in the internet that they're completely independent and sovereign. Now, I didn't know all this extra stuff, but what I was trying to make my point, the King of England and the Catholic Church own the most land on earth. And I didn't understand how Trump could think he could waltz in there and just make him a 51st state.
Because he likes to shake it up. That's why, because it works.
It's not practical to behave like that.
This is
no, Jane, you don't understand the street.
It's a strategy.
Don, how many women do men, and especially black men players, right, pimps, how many women does a guy approach and go, hey, baby, and she says, I'm married, or I've got a guy. What does the player say? He says, so I can be your guy, right? It's like, so who cares? Are you married to him? How many girls have opened their legs to a guy they said, I'm not interested in you, you repulse me. And then 2 hours later, you know, hello, it's birthday soup. It's like Trump is playing them like seeing if they flinch.
But in the meantime, he's not looking good.
It's not looking good. He's the president of the United States. What's not looking good about that?
His behavior is poor. It's a poor approach to foreign policy.
Now, his behavior offends you and CNN.
His behavior is actually a detriment to national security, because when he's firing FA and OSHA people and ESA, even though they're ripoffs, but
they did.
The FBI and the CIA, he's firing staff left and right. That's a detriment to national security.
Oh no! What's happening, Don? He's going to expose.
Need to take away the waste.
He's going to expose Hillary Clinton, Hunter Biden. Even if he's got immunity, Biden doesn't have immunity. He's going to expose the whole cabal. Cash Patel knows everything about the FISA, Christopher Steele.
Who cares?
Russiagate. He's going to blow them up, and Pam Bondi is going to be like James Bondi on them. Trust me, it's going to be a slow and painful death.
First of all, Don is right, and I'll let Suzette go next. He's losing respect by his behavior, Donald Trump.
What's Trump's approval rating according to CNN?
43%.
I think it's
51%. They still like what he's doing with Elon Musk. And what they don't like is the economy, because in 30 days, Trump hasn't transformed the economy. But trust me, this stuff, Epstein's list, it's going to be blown up. I mean, aren't you glad the border shut down and that Hamas has stopped doing what they're doing? They're turning over hostages, and that Ukraine and Russia are finally talking, at least going to the table this week, instead of 4 years of blowing each other up?
I have no problem with it. I have no problem with the government.
Even if we disagree with you.
Destroy the Constitution. You're running money through that's already been sent. You're stopping those monies from being paid. And so it's just like he does his businesses. He doesn't pay his employees. And it's just
he's the executive officer. Isn't that what an executive officer does in a company? The president, doesn't he say, I shut it down?
But he's supposed to pay people, or else he gets in the lawsuits. You know, and unfortunately, he can't. He's above the law. And we're paying for it.
It's Suzette's turn.
We're paying for it. We're paying for this.
Let Suzette talk before.
There's what these people are taking him to court, or taking the government or whatever to court, is for work that's already been done, that they haven't, or that they were already paid for, but he's not going to be paying them anymore. Money was already appropriated for that, and that's what's going to be released. But they're claiming that they had worked past, 2020, like January 2025, December 2024 and 25, and so they want to be paid for basically work that has not been done, but he doesn't want them to do it, because what they're doing, or what they were hired to do, it goes against, it's wasteful, basically. It's wasteful. So that's what the lawsuit is about.
All these white people's projects are wasteful. There's no reason for all of these programs.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah, but the thing is that going through it roughshod is the problem. He's exacerbating the problem by bringing on the potential for a huge increase in inflation. And we've been just...
So you mean misspending money creates inflation? What do you do when you have? What do you do in your household when you have no money? You cut down all the stupid expenses. We have stuff. You know that we never knew.
God, I'm not saying anything against that.
Have you seen the list of stuff that they're cutting?
Yes.
Have you seen the list?
And they're doing some.
Kristi Noem spent $200 million promoting her personal arrests of immigrants.
And that's state. That's her Louisiana state money.
Yeah.
But that's not the.
You know how much money we're saving by deporting all those people, getting them out of the country?
No. I'm saying that the process, John. The process. You fucking bailed out of the process. The process, if there is a process, you know the process. You used to be a business owner.
Right.
You used to be a landlord. You know there is a process for everything, especially when it comes down to money. And if you don't follow the process, things can go out of whack. That's what I'm saying. That's what's happening. People, farmers, everybody is getting whacked by what's going on, the uncertainty of what's going on. They're getting whacked. And these are all white people.
Do you know what the national deficit? Do you know what the national deficit was when Barack Obama took office in 2008? Do you know what the deficit was?
The deficit was around 23 trillion.
And Trump made it higher. Trump made it higher.
Our deficit.
And he brought it up to 28 million.
Trump increased the national debt too.
What says?
Hello?
No, Trump made it go up higher than anyone. Trump had he was 7 trillion. I don't know what you're getting at, John.
Actually, I'm getting that information for you.
It's like we're trying to figure out his approval rating as of today is 48%. That's what I was trying to tell you guys. But
depending on what poll you look at.
Whatever.
Yeah. So I guess it's been after his speech. So I don't know how it dipped so low. If you're saying it's 48, but CNN called back.
Which speech? He's given a couple of speeches.
When he addressed the joint session of Congress.
Yeah.
He dropped in the 40s.
And it went down.
I would like to say something. We've been on the air almost 2 hours, and Suzette and I already covered the farmers being mistreated. We already covered that.
Well, I think it's mistreated. I mean, what do you call that? That's not
What happened is Minnesota lost their whole soybean export business to China in 2018. Now Trump's posing things on Canada. It's hurting the Minnesota farmers again. They never got it back. They never got the Chinese business back.
Well, there you go. That's all I can say. I can't say any more about the farmers.
All right, you guys got 15 minutes left. 15 minutes.
All right, well, we got the federal workers who...
Wait a second. So you're saying the economy's a mess because Donald Trump's been in office for 1 month. No, we got there by 4 years of Joe Biden torpedoing our economy and then telling us that everything's better than it's ever been when the fact is...
Well, why don't you explain why Wall Street's in a mess now and NASDAQ? Everything's plummeting under Trump. That happened in the last 5 days.
Well, that's they don't believe it.
Well, you don't turn an economy around in a month.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, the economy was good when Biden left office. I didn't say
But it doesn't change overnight, though, just because you put another body in the White House.
But you don't. But put the other body in the White House, that's fine. It's what the body does, how quickly they want things changed. They just bombed the American economy. In essence, if those tariffs went through, if he didn't lie to himself and change the tariffs right now, the auto industry would be getting ready to tank. Everything would.
We're trying to be tolerant. We're trying to be tolerant, but it's too much change at once.
That's what I'm saying.
I know I'm arguing with John, not you.
I love what he's doing, because here's the problem you're going to have, sweetheart, is they're going to fight Donald Trump tooth and nail for the next 2 years in court. That's what the Democratic, and some of the rhinos, they want to do. But mainly the Democratic Party, they want to get lawsuits, lock him up so they can't do any moves. And then the economy is going to stall just like it did under Obama and under Bush, where both sides aren't going to cooperate. So then midterms will come up, and then Democrats will jump in because people go, look at the economy, nothing's going on, because we've been in court fighting all this crap. And then they're going to have a Democratic Party that's going to just sit there and go, he's a lame duck, we're not going to approve anything he does. And 4 years will go by and go, oh, see, I told you it wasn't going to work. So you're wondering why it's too fast. Donald Trump has to slam dunk this thing in the next 6 months to a year to get the effect going in the second year. You'll start to see after about 12 months, you'll start to see things to roll around, because how long is it going to take to switch the energy on, right, with the gas, with drill, baby, drill? How long is it going to take when we cut these budgets, all these they got to get to the welfare, not to cut Social Security, but to cut the fraud.
Okay, well, Canada is going to punish America red-handed. They're going to be less cooperative with oil diesels. They're going to provide us less steel, or Rand Paul said that Canada will sell steel now to Kentucky plants for 25% more of the price. They're not going to be sweet about it.
You get all your information from CNN. Here's the deal. He's going to reciprocal tariffs.
No, I didn't get him from CNN. You
haven't listened to anything he said. He's charging reciprocal tariffs. That means if you charge me, if I go to your house and you say, John, you have a 25% tariff, and I go, guess what? I'm going to charge you 25% tariff. Is that wrong?
I told you that's what they're doing. He's imposing tariffs on them, and they're imposing tariffs back. It's called the trade war.
He's postponed those tariffs for a month, so nothing has been in place.
You still haven't listened to what he's done. They charge us already double and triple, or they don't even allow our products.
She doesn't understand them.
I do too. I was a bookkeeper for 3.
She doesn't understand.
You know what, Don? That's your second warning. You're off. You're not on speaker anymore. You may not say white people are crazy. You have to say Caucasian people are crazy, because I want to keep my YouTube license. Secondly, I was a bookkeeper for 3 years. I know numbers better than the back of my hand. I was in the top 10% in the nation in math.
Then you would know.
What people don't understand is that we're going to have our $5,000 stimulus checks within the next 3 or 4
I don't believe it.
Oh, yeah. It'll be there.
I don't believe it.
He's going to be saving money. He's saving us money. There is no doubt. It's just the method that he's doing it is not.
He's got to do it fast.
Did you take your medication today?
Illegal.
Because everything that you said the first hour of the radio show, you're now siding with John. You two-faced white man.
What did I say? The first thing that's not. I didn't talk about saving. We weren't talking about saving. He's saving us money.
You're a two-faced Judas.
Why? I mean, I'm a realist.
I'll,
I look at, I'm with the NACP. I have to look at things fair and balanced.
I'm Justin Trudeau's woman. I'm his biatch.
Yeah, but Justin Trudeau is Prince William's bitch. John is right about that.
I just changed my national origin to can of soda. It's half Canadian and half Minnesotan.
That's right. Just like I was talking about earlier, the Jews had to change their name, and we had our forced on us.
When did you do that, Jane?
I did it today on Twitter. I did it like 6 hours ago on Twitter.
Do you say a vote?
I'm from
about?
Yes, I'm from Canada, and I can cross the border on a boat because we have the boundary waters. Okay, John and Don, you can go back to what you were complaining about.
I'm going to get going, but this was an excellent discussion throughout your show, Jane. Thank you very much for hosting and putting on a good discussion. So good night,
Thanks
everybody.
for sticking with us that long. It was a long show.
Oh, it was, but it was worth it. It was totally worth it. I loved it.
We
Thank you.
hope to see you soon. God bless.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Yes.
Bye. Say that.
Yes.
You have 20 more reps to do to get on those bands, okay?
Okay, you got it.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay,
Right,
bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Good night. John and Don, you can talk 10 more minutes. I got to teach school at 7:45. When Suzette called, when she hung up, the call dropped. The call dropped when Suzette hung up. You can talk for 8 more minutes. I have to teach school at 7:45 a.m. And Don is no longer on the air. His call dropped too. If he calls in, I'll let him back in.
What we could do is,
Well, just tell me what would you like to talk about the last 8 minutes?
Well, just basically, the point I was trying to make is I was just trying to get the pure numbers because it's nice to have pure facts. But basically, we were in around when Barack Obama took over. It took a long time to get to $1 trillion in debt. That was around somewhere in the Bush years. When Barack got it, it was like around 5 or 6 trillion. And by the time he was out of office, it tripled up to about 16 trillion. And then Trump came in, and by the time Barack left office, they started doing stimulus. And then Trump ran it up. We had COVID, and they printed a lot of money, and it went up to about 28 trillion. And then Biden came in and just started just freestyling. Like he ran it up to 38 trillion. So in other words,
we're never gonna bail ourselves out.
In 2.5 presidents, we've gone for imagine in 200 years or so, we go along and we get up to 1 trillion. And then in another 10, 15 years, we get up to like 16 trillion. And then in another 5 or 6 years, suddenly we gone from 16 to 38. This isn't just a little problem.
Well, there's also another problem. From Bush Jr. to Obama, right before Obama took office, there was the Wall Street crash of 2008, and our government bailed out a lot of those banks. Do you remember that?
Yes.
It was a crisis, and our government decided to help the banks, even though since then I've watched a documentary on Wells Fargo, and they were totally corrupt on how they ran their business.
quite. And the point being is that right now, do you know how much money you're in debt by the government national
Yes,
debt?
I do. I know how much I'm in debt.
Well, but how much by the gross national debt or the deficit? How much money do you owe? I'm talking that we're underwater. Each person's share that works out of 100.
Are you saying like if you divide 32 trillion by how many Americans do we have?
We have, although we have 300 and maybe 40 or 50 Americans, half of them work because
45. We have 450 million Americans.
So we have basically they're saying it used to be 130, but now they have 170 people are considered working Americans. 170 million, and you have 38 trillion is the deficit. So how much does that equal per worker?
I don't know.
$294,000. 300 grand is what you're in debt. I'm in debt 300 grand. And just think, going back to...
I think we should start over.
When you and I were like with Obama, during that time, or Bush, like, when 9/11 hit, we were maybe, I don't know, 20, 30,000 in debt max. So we've gone for, you imagine like Lola said to you, hey mom, I owe, even 10 grand, 20 grand, I'm in debt. You go, well, you better work hard, cancel your credit card. If he came up to you and said, I am $300,000 in debt, what do you tell him?
Would it be a person or a president?
Or anyway, you would just tell anyone, you'd say, file bankruptcy.
I'd say go to another country and run away.
All right. So now when you hear, it's like, oh, Donald Trump's doing it too fast. No, like Titanic is like, how fast can you get people off the ship? You have to do, this is an abort or crash mission. That's come, he's going with the chainsaw. You go, it's going too fast. You have to go from 300,000 or 200,000. You got to get that thing down to like 20,000, 50,000.
Well, the only thing I was telling you over the phone personally is that I would have chosen another strategy, because if you do things haphazard, they backfire.
Well, what other way are you?
Well, also he was also tinkering with offices that are oversight committees, like the Office of Special Counsel is a monitoring branch of the government. And there was another one that has to do with regulations that he cut off. Like he could have started with just certain bureaus. He didn't have to start with specialized services.
Well, you weren't there at SOS when we went belly up.
I was there during 9/11, though.
Okay, well, I can tell you 10 years later, about 12 years later, in 2013, February, I can remember exactly why, because I had to switch jobs. In February, about the first or second week, I went to Mexico. I took a day off on Friday. I never took any time off. I would save my vacation time and get paid for it in cash until the last year or so. And then they started making us take vacation time. They weren't paid because money was getting tight. So I would burn off like 2 or 3 at a time. I would take like Labor Day, and I'd take 2 or 3 days off. So I'd make it like a 5-day weekend, because they always have those Monday days off, right?
And then you got paid, right? You got paid.
Right. So if, say, Memorial Day was, say on a Monday, I would take Friday and Thursday off before. So I'd have, Thursday through Monday. I'd have like a 4 or 5 day weekend. And I would do that all throughout every month. I'd just take 2 or 3 of my, 10 days of vacation pay. I would just take clusters of 2 or 3 of those and slap it onto the Labor Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and so forth. So every month I had it's almost like a little half-week vacation, and it was so fun because the next month I had to get another one instead of just taking 2 weeks off and then you come back and it's like it's over, right? The next you got to wait the whole year. Very discouraging. Anyway, I'm in Mexico. and I get a call in the middle of the day, and I can barely hear it because I'm handing out blankets and stuff and feeding people at Tijuana. And it's Cindy, and she's going, and it's a bad connection. She's going, the office is closed. You got to come back. Come back Monday. I think you'll keep your job. And I'm like, who is this? What's going on? Because SOS has been there for like 100, 80 years, right? Three generations. I said, yeah, it's Cindy, the office manager. Yes. The office has been closed, and but call Craig. I'm like, call Craig. So I call him up, and he said, yeah, the company's been bought by another, but you can keep your job. You need to show up in Yorba Linda on Monday, and that's Disneyland. That's 13 miles east of Disneyland. I'm like, that's like an hour and a half to 2 hours driving in the morning. That's a 4-hour, round tripper every day to keep. And it's like, when I found out,
I remember those circumstances, even though I wasn't there.
And it was just like, I faked him. Oh, yeah, I'll show up. And if I want to keep my job. But I was thinking from minute one, I'm like, I'm not going to work here. This is crazy. I'm not going to commute. I tried it the first day. I'm driving back and forth, stuck in traffic. I'm like, I'm not going to do this. One night, I slept over there down the street. I went down the street and just slept in the car and, went to work the next day. But in the meantime, I was scrambling to get a job, once work would stop, which is really impossible.
Why can't you just get unemployment?
Well, but the point is that wasn't going to work. I needed a job. I needed real money. It was out of the blue. The point is, they didn't give us 6 months or a couple of months. I've been in 2 companies, 3, where you just show up and they go, they're moving the furniture. They're like, everyone's gone. We've all been laid off. That's how business works. You're coming from a political government, like everyone needs a soft landing and nothing, we're going to give you cookies and milk and tuck you in. That's not the real world. Real world is, this company's going under. You're fired. You walk in and your boss puts you in a room and goes, we don't have any more money. You have to go, you're done. That's it. And that's the real world. So,
well, it doesn't happen every day. Like when I worked at National Car Rental when I was pregnant, they closed the office a year later, but I had already quit.
Some places can make it a transition, but all I'm saying is that he's getting the job done, and they're just trying to. If he doesn't do it, we're gonna go under.
Well, did you know I have a little different perspective than you? I work for the Department of Defense in Illinois. I work for the U.S. Census Bureau. I work for the U.S. Post Office. I've been a federal worker 3 different times, and so I have a little different perspective.
Well, the problem you have is this, and that is if you're short on money, do you spend extra money paying your son?
No, I don't.
But if you were going under, right? You had no money. Would you pay your son to paint the driveway, to mow the lawn,